How the hell did this get started?
How did it get started? Well, ever since we started Olympia Provisions, the goal was to make the best charcuterie in the world, not just America. And when you think about the best charcuterie producers in the world, they come from places that they actually care about the animals and they understand how important that is in the final end product. My idols always are Iberico pork or the amazing producers in the Alps and anybody that actually gives a damn. And then I started kind of looking around on how would I ever get animals raised to that standard and to that quality, and it just didn't exist. And so in 2009, I worked with my first farmer directly to control diets, kid his hogs on pasture, utilize the whole animal, and I failed probably 15 times till now, and now we're to where we're at, and it's starting to actually happen. Yeah.
What did you learn as you were failing?
I think my biggest takeaway, and still to this day, is that the meat industry is fucking disgusting. Sorry for swearing, but it just is what it is. People will do anything to hide it and make you feel good without telling you the true story. And that's the thing. Besides the quality in the product, that still fires me up every single day. So many of my chef friends and consumers and partners are just getting fucking lied to. And you need somebody out there that's willing to walk the walk and talk the talk, or these farmers and this whole infrastructure we're trying to build just never going to happen. Still to this day with my product, right? You can get my product in Seattle and Portland, and there's distributors and other companies that are walking into the same kitchens after I do it and lying to them, saying, hey, we have the same quality pork that they do, and completely greenwashing it, and those pigs are tortured, confinement animals, and there's nobody, to prove them wrong.
How can people tell the difference?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say you got to want to. You have to be able to ask the hard questions. I think simply saying, if you're not willing to ask, hey, where does your pork come from? Who raises it? What certificating bodies are there? Like, what certifications do they have? Are they GAP certified? Or are you just telling me this? Because if you're a true producer or a farmer, you're willing to have people on your farm look at my pigs, or they'll show you the certifications that they have, like GAP certification or certified humane, so on and so forth. But if you're just like, hey, what certification does this have? Hey, they're heritage, or hey, they're raised right, or they're antibiotic, that's just greenwashing at its finest.
They're natural.
Yeah, they're natural, which means about as much as me being good looking, nothing.
How are you connecting to farmers? Like, how are you finding people to, raise pork in this way?
Yeah, that's a great question. Luckily, Portland's small, Oregon's small. It's a small circle of people organic that are doing it well. I've worked farmers markets with the Deck family farm since the day that I've been around, and as they were out there growing their herds, talking about what they're doing right, they're amazing family. They kept holding me accountable, being like, hey, when are you finally going to do this? When are you going to do that? And as soon as you get one farmer, they're like, hey, have you heard of another farm down the road? They have some pigs. They're certified organic. They have X, Y, and Z. And then you just kind of keep in the circle. You keep, the social media is an amazing place right now. You could do Pacific Northwest pasture raised pig and find 5 more farmers right now that are trying to bring their products to market. So the demand for it's out there.
What's the difference between how your pigs are raised and how a more factory farm pig is raised?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest takeaway in the entire conversation here is that 98.3% of all pork in America, every single one of them, doesn't matter what that label looks like, is raised in confinement. Like, honest to God, these animals are tortured. Their teeth are pulled out, their ears are clipped, their tails are clipped, they're never gonna turn around. They live their entire life in a tiny little room, never seeing outside on on slatted floors. I'm the exact opposite of that. My pigs are raised outside, they have room to turn around, they're never changed or tortured, they're able to roam, build muscle structure, and improve the land in which they're on. So night and day. But again, we're only tiny percentage of this. But I can definitely say, if you don't know the farmer in the Pacific Northwest directly that's raising your pigs, no matter what that label says, if it doesn't come from Olympia Provisions, those animals are tortured and they are confinement hogs.
What's the difference in what they eat?
That's a great question. See, I'm a true believer in pigs rummaging for half of their diet to 2/3 of their diet. A pig should be out there. There's actually a narrative. I've stood on pork boards where they said hogs are allergic to grass. And you kind of have to ask yourself, how the hell do they make it to now? Like they always were fed something from that, and they forage. So there's a huge narrative out there that pigs only need to eat oats and corn. I like my pigs to truly have a diverse diet. I kind of think back to tomatoes back in the 90s, where every tomato had to be perfectly red and taste of refrigerator. And if people were just to break away and think that pigs throughout the year should have a change in flavor and they should taste epic and all of the nuances that come around with it, that's it. I allow my farmers, because mine are so diverse in the Pacific Northwest. We have them in Northern California, Eastern Oregon, and then right here in the Willamette Valley. I really like them to look at what their pigs need for a diet, and then tell them exactly, let them tell me what it happens to bring the perfect hog, and then enjoy the nuances and the flavors between them. But most pigs across America are fed, GMO fed corn, pumped full of all sorts of bad chemicals, and then out to market. So some of my pigs will be finished on hazelnuts and wild forest acorns, and some will eat chitgrass and sage, and some of them down there where the brothers raise it will do oats and soy. And each one of the farmers has nuanced flavor in it, and to me, I think that's so fascinating.
How's it represented in the taste between your pigs and factory raised?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've done, because I'm really close to it and I'm extremely passionate about it, as you can tell. And we've done so many blind tastings to prove it. And luckily in my work, we have anything from mechanics to sanitation support to master somms to super fancy chefs. And we'll do blind tasting side by side. Well, they'll never know. And we're like 98% people will always choose the pasture raised. What people will instantly notice is there is flavor. When people think of pork for a very long time, they think of the white meat. Like, just add salt pork, make sure you brine it, make sure you do all of the crazy stuff you have to do it. But if a pig is out there exercising, doing this amazing stuff, it has a ton of nuance. Yeah, I mean, you'll taste it in grass-fed beef to, beef that is finished with different diets. You can actually taste it. And the hog is so much more. It's a much more mellow base, if you know. Beef has more flavor and depth and umami to it. And pork is like a very subtle palate, if you will. And so if you add acorns, if you add peaches or apples, you will pick up nuances of sweetness and tannic and all of those interesting things. But that was deep level nerd shit. I'm sorry, people.
Well, but, you're sitting in front of a vineyard, and I'm like, well, this sounds like a discussion of terroir.
It is 100%. Yeah, it's been removed, and you see that in wine, right? It's fascinating to me that the way that you raise animals isn't the thought of the same as wine. Like, it's the way you grow grapes across America, organic, biodynamic, all the things, everybody can easily point to the fact that those grapes are going to have a different flavor and more nuance. If you're growing, flat bottom plunk wine and you're going to kill it with all the chemicals that you do, you know what you're going to get. Why would that be different with an animal? It's absolutely not. If you have a farmer that really cares and allows their pigs to do all sorts of things and is really invested in what they are eating, you produce just a completely complex and a different product than what commodities out there. Make sense?
Yeah, you mentioned like different kind of finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, are you starting to kind of say, hey, can you give them more hazelnuts, or are you starting to influence those diets in order to get like an outcome or a flavor that you're interested in?
That's an interesting thing. I really want my farmers to succeed. If they were to ever bring me a product that sucked, that was truly off or wrong or rancid, if they fed it carp or something and it was in there, I would, but they would never do that because they're eating it and they're being there. I want my farmers to look at their operation and say, hey, this is what it's going to take me to survive. Like, this farm needs this. And if it produces a pig within spec, and that's usually from weight and fat content, then I'm completely happy. Yeah, so more so, what I really like people to think about is that the animal should be a part of the regenerative movement of land. That's get thrown around a lot. And right now, animals are taken away, they're kind of demonized, right? Like, pigs are absolutely tortured, they bring no value to it. But if you look at my farmers, all three that we're working with currently, they have a mission with what they're doing with their pigs to improve the land. And if that means, hey, this pig has to eat sagebrush, or this pig's gonna be in an acorn, in an ideal underneath white oaks, eating acorns off the ground, that's what I want. I want to see what that pig looks like, taste it, see what the nuances on it, and see what we have to adjust accordingly. But a good farmer will know what that means. Like, if you're hands-on out there being with your pigs, you know what they need to get to market weight. You know what you need to supplement their feed with, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's fascinating. I think one of the most interesting one is Deck Family Farm. They're surrounded by white oak savannas, right? And that's hazelnut country. And in hazelnut country, which is the Willamette Valley, they had a white hazelnut mite. So big hazelnut went to Deck Family Farm, and they're like, you need a herbicide and pesticide underneath all of your white oaks. And they were like, well, that's kind of crazy. The white oaks are there to protect the rivers anyways. And so now you're asking me to put herbicides and pesticides underneath these white oaks which flow into my stream. Would you guys be willing to allow us to run pigs underneath these white oaks to eat the acorns and see if they remove them by chance, knowing well that every pig's going to lose their mind once they smell acorns? They run their pigs underneath these trees. They eat acorns. They supplement it with excess hazelnuts for their diet. They remove the blackberries underneath it. And then 2 years later, they never had a herbicide and pesticide, any of them, utilizing the animals to improve the soil and never have to put something harmful into the rivers. Now that's the way animals should be raised. They should have the opportunity to get out there, improve the soil, and actually farm it, not put in a cage where all their waste is put in a pond.
Are there health benefits to this?
For us to eat?
Yeah, for people.
Well, you know, I haven't done any scientific documentation on it, but I do think if once you're aware of it, you could feel proud and have less stress that you're supporting a local thing and doing what's right. And I do think that has to do with flavor and conscious. Knowing you're supporting something that is actually true and genuine and trying to make a difference should make you feel good. And then you sleep well at night. Sleep's probably good for health. And that's all I have to say about that topic.
What's all the crap that they inject pork with, like at Safeway? And
Yeah, there's endless about it. Like you'll read antibiotic free, right? That's a big one where they're saying it's like a value add, antibiotic free. But every confinement sow operation utilizes antibiotics, every one of them, no matter what you're saying. So if it says antibiotic free, that's meaning 2 to 3 weeks before they go to kill plants, they've given them antibiotics. And you know what happens when you get antibiotics? They get antibiotic resistant pathogens, and they just keep getting worse and worse, and they up the dosage and create new pathogens, and then pretty soon these animals are just drugged out until an outbreak finally happens and they kill the entire herd and move on. So that happens, that's industry standard in pork. That is just a sad fact of what's happening. Our farmers are never ever antibiotic. They're never allowed to use antibiotic. And so if a cold happens, you do like you would a human. You separate them. You give them space. You never have your pigs live on top of each other. You have to be invested. If you hear a cough or if you hear something like that, be sure that herd's separate. Treat them like they're ill. Give them proper food. Rest them. Do those things. Bring them back to market. But don't pump them full of antibiotics. In the last case scenario, get rid of the herd. And that, you know, that's part of it. But it happens very rare and properly raised, pasture raised pork. But that was deep. And then on the back end, to get color into it and all the tricks that we have, it's super unregulated.
That's what I was kind of referring to. You know, that, like, there's like a saline that they pump into
Correct. Yep.
Pork. After it's butchered, then they pump that stuff in? Or
Yeah, the old school, which is getting more regulated but still happens, is they get the vein passages and they'll tap dye into it to pump it through. That'll take the oxygen out of the meat to make sure it stays pink the entire time. Not necessarily a chemical, but just not proper practice. Like you could allow a pig to have the worst diet, never move, never create muscle structure, and get a pink hue, even though it would be whiter than chicken, which is horrible cheating. Or just have a pig move around and roam and do the things that would give good muscle connectivity and delicious flavor and cool meat color. But nah, fuck that.
How do restaurateurs get access to this?
Yeah, Chef's Warehouse is distributing my product in Pacific Northwest, and so Seattle and here in Bend and Mount Hood and Walla Walla. You could reach out direct for sure. Whole Foods Market Northwest sells it at the counter, and Market of Choice also sells it at the counter. And then of course Olympia Provisions products are, you know, it. And that's just the meat industry is absolutely fucked at this, like the fresh meat industry, but the value-added charcuterie meat industry is even worse. I don't think I know of a salami producer or a meat producer in all of America. Oh, there's excuse me, Smoking Goose, I love you guys. They do create, or they do celebrate pasture-raised animals. But besides that, all of the expensive salami out there is the worst hogs in America. They hide it, they mask it, they try to say that it's, you know, antibiotic-free heritage breeds, but they're absolutely lying to you. In the value-added charcuterie world, it's freaking disgusting. So please support my salami. Buy my hot dogs. What else you got, Mal? I can hear you edging.
What's been some feedback that you've heard from folks who started carrying the pasture-raised pork line?
Yeah, that was also really intimidating. Right when I launched the pork product, it's kind of like every time I've created a product, you kind of have like, yeah, you can give it to the masses, but then at some point, Kevin Gibson or Gabe Rucker or Gigi is going to be like, hey, this is, and you're like, fuck. What's happening? I can remember I dropped it off at the Laurelhurst Market was my first customer to support it, and those boys know a lot about meat. And the second Benny and that entire butcher staff tasted it, they're like, we're in. It wasn't even price first. It was like, hey, what do we need to support this? How is this going to happen? And also, you're also competitive in price, which is kind of baffling. But Con, it was very nice to hear Gigi and that amazingly team to take everything so simple or so. They're so specific on what they do. That's how you get to that level. To him clearly say this is the best pork I've ever had since I've been on Haiti or any of these places. So yeah, and Kevin Gibson, we all know Jack and I worked with him. He's a very picky human being.
I catch him eating a Randy about once a month.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's a huge flattering compliment. And he only texts me about 1 out of every 4 times that I fucked up. So it's great. But when you're starting to see your peers that you really admire and respect, love it and celebrate it and make it a staple of their menu, it really builds your confidence in what the farmers are doing. And they're able to work with these products. Like I have gone into bigger hotel chains and so on and so forth where they were like, what do you mean their diet is varying? And I was like, yeah, you're going to have to celebrate that. The porks are going to have amazing depth and flavor, but they will vary. And then to walk away and be like, that's crazy, we can't. Our customers are going to lose their mind. Or do you celebrate it? Do you recognize that you're cooking a real living product that needs nuance and needs depth? And these chefs at this level are all about it. I love getting an email or text or a message being like, this is by far the greatest batch we've ever had. Can we always get this? And being like, probably for a few more weeks until the diet changes, and then onward and upward. You're pretty soon you're going to have even a better one, I promise.
When you receive the animal and start working with it, like what are you doing in order to preserve those qualities?
Yeah, it's very meat nerdy and fascinating. The biggest thing is fat analysis. Total sounds scientific. Is we take different parts from it, we run a grind blend, and we run it through a fat analysis to see what our fat content is and what we have to adjust to make perfect charcuterie for it. But then we taste it with just salt. And every new batch or farm that we produce, I create a product called saucisson de Arles, which is just sea salt and mold salami. And then that's the way, because it ferments very subtly and it picks up all the nuances while it dries. That end result will tell you exactly what that pork tastes like. It's an unbelievable kind of process. The only problem with that is it takes 25 days to do this. That pork is already way gone. But you can see between, as it develops this time of year and we take an ungodly amount of notes of like, hey, this pig midsummer right now, eating a lot of dropped acorns, probably getting a lot of squash from the farmers, compost pile, whatever it is, it's doing this to it. Hey, next year, let's make sure we lower the temperature, make sure the chefs know what's going to come out. The coolest thing is this is a bigger, longer project, right? I love things that are going to take 20 years till it's fucking dialed. And I'm going to have different things, but just like the idea of it, of just getting out there and exploring what these are is more fun than when it's going to be finished. Like in 20 years when we're have 17 farmers that are hopefully all pasture raised and it's a nationwide movement and farmers are talking around from state to state about this, I'd love to share my notes to be like, hey, this is how we did it. Like, during the fall, it's really easy to have a very fatty pig because everything's ripe. When it gets hot, check this out. Make sure they're not only eating tomatoes or whatever it is. So we keep some of your wheat supplement for this time of year. But yeah, it's super fascinating.
It's kind of kitchen dirty, but it feels like there's that opportunity to talk to people like Kevin Gibson later on and say, hey, you got this pork, you treated it this way.
Yep.
The spring pork, the fall pork, they're all different. How are you responding to that as it comes in?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a way to celebrate all those distinctions.
Exactly, and keeping really clear notes in the chaotic world of how they tasted and what farm came in from what and any hurdles that they see. It's the biggest part is, I think, that where value-added meat producers have a chance to make this actually functional is being willing to work with the farmer on that. Where again, it's harder on any company to have a nuanced thing that's making a lot of product, but to be able to be like, not everything is going to be perfect. It has to be delicious to some extent, for sure. But if there is a flaw in it, make sure everybody knows about it. Hey, we noticed this. What happened in this feed cycle? Can you share some data with us to kind of data? Not a lot of data in the farming world. Can you tell me some background about what these pigs were eating that might have brought this nuance to it? And next year, let's try something else. But it's really, really, really fun. And, luckily we see, we produce a lot of meat at Olympia Provisions. So, 35 hogs a week will allow me to produce 7 different types of salami, fresh sausages, mortadellas, pâtés, and then sell fresh market. So I'm getting an amazing amount of data to see what works best when, and anytime we have a flaw or anything, we have something that's absolutely exceptional, we mark it, we track why, put it in the data bank and move on.
So it's, as the farm to table movement has kind of grown much more popular. It's like tomatoes. You could get a piece of cardboard that's painted red.
Yep.
Or you could have a tomato that
Correct.
Does vary in taste as the year goes through, and milk changes the texture or the taste of milk.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would think people would want the same thing with their meat.
Yeah, and I think there's something key in that too. As farm to table moved and caught popularity, more people are trying to glom on that from a marketing perspective and hide what is real. And that's what we're seeing mostly in the meat industry. Everybody knows you want to feel good and picture yourself having these amazing animals raised properly, but there's more people hiding it than the people that are actually doing it. So there's no doubt that people want to feel good and taste the nuances of it, but there's a lot of people that are going to try to hide it. There's going to be a lot of people that put farmers up on their butcher counter and buy confinement hogs and just make you feel good as you're doing it. So how we get the masses, the chefs, the people to ask the right questions and make sure labeling is genuine and honest is a big fight for the next decade, until we are not only celebrating but living it, and the farmers, the small family farms that are actually doing the damn work are getting the majority of what they're doing. They're the profit from this whole movement. Yeah, for sure. As I think as a true charcuterie maker, at least the way that I was always taught, is that your job is to take every piece of that animal and add value to it. Make sure that everything can get on it. You can sell loins and tenderloins, that's no problem, but what can you really make with trim? What can you do with skin? What are these things to actually bring value that the most picky consumer could do this? What usually happens in a small pasture-raised farm is they don't have the ability to go to market and sell the entire album. So like a farmer will go to a farmer's market and then they will sell out of loins, bellies, chops, whatever it is, but then they're stuck with lard, bone, feet, X, Y, and Z. Even when they were working with Whole Foods on a project like this, it only got so big until Whole Foods couldn't deal with, hey, we don't make sausages, we don't do all this. So when I stepped back and looked at the whole problem, I said, what can Olympia Provisions do as a charcuterie maker to make this a pure zero waste program? And that's when Paulie and Josh and everyone kind of is like, hey, what is our biggest loss leader in this? What is the biggest waste we possibly have? Skin, bone, feet, heads. What are we going to do with all this consistently that we can actually make an impact from this? And we decided to make a pet treat. So we take the bones, the skin, everything, grind it 6 times, put it in a casing, and to this day, it's the hardest charcuterie product I have ever made in my entire life. 2 years of R&D. And I was like, yeah, it's a dog treat. It doesn't friggin' matter. Comes to find out, pet treats need a 1.5 year shelf life. They can't mold in that life. How do you ferment bone? What do you do with skin? Yeah, it just turned into a huge ordeal, and it's still just like, we're so proud of it. And then there was a big ordeal with this, right? Like, hey, don't put your brand on a pet treat. It's going to lower the quality of such a high quality brand. And in that exact time, we had Paulie and Josh and Mallory and all these amazing people being like, but they'll never learn the mission. You'll never learn that you have to buy the entire animal and have responsibility for it. So you should be having this conversation. So also thanks for letting me have this conversation right now.
It says the pet treat under the Olympia Provisions label?
It is, yeah. So you can get, I would easily say, the most humanely raised pet treat done in a USDA food grade plant in America. And it's a great price point, but yeah.
Price point a couple times. Like, how are you working through the economics of being, like, I'm assuming you can't scale like, the factory farms do. It's the reason they're built that way. Like, how are you keeping everything in a price point that makes sense for you and the farmers.
Yeah, that is definitely the biggest hurdle. There is definitely a ceiling on pork. You know, people still consider pork. They want the $1.99 pork chop, so on and so forth. Again, I think Olympia Provisions is very strategic and lucky that we have such a diverse product line. I can sell the highest, most expensive quality salami to the wonderful people in Berkeley or Williamsburg, so I can take them and sell my $22 stick of salami to that. I can add every little piece of that to my hot dogs, to everything, to impact that. You know, to make sure that that price comes down, and then working with partners and having the conversation. You know, when I'm fortunate enough to work with Whole Foods or the great people at Market of Choice, they see the bigger picture. They know the greenwashing that all the other brands are out there. Hey, do you guys really want to see this be a sustainable thing that actually happens in America? Then support it. It is going to cost you more now. But we are working with their kill plants and the producers and the feed and everything we possibly can to keep that price competitive. And then it's on us to market it well, to sell it well, to get out there and, you know, tell people, and honestly to call people out. When I'm seeing people, you know, trying to sell and greenwash and make this, having frank conversations, you know, you're ruining this. Like you say you want antibiotic-free pork or heritage and small family farms, but you're not doing anything to support it. And then watch them kind of, you know, get scared and shaking their boots a little bit. It's really the best.
That environment. So you got this environment where there's a lot of greenwashing, and then you've got your program and your ethic, but you might be next to somebody who is greenwashing. How are you getting that in front of the consumer that there's a difference between these two products?
I like to sit in front of a camera in my backyard and tell people to it. Yeah, you know, if I would have figured this out, we're still in it. We're just still trying to get people to talk about it and understand the difference, and being transparent and making sure people know that if you're going to work with my product, now when people invite me to say, I'm very, very, very happy to say, please come to my plant. Please support me. Let's go down the road and meet my farmers. Let me show you that I produce everything. And let me tell you how rare that is in America. And then let's have that conversation. And please do me a favor, ask the same questions to the other people you're supporting and see if they invite you into their plant, see if they invite you to their farms. Because if they don't, they're hiding something. But yeah, you know, it's gonna take a long time. And to say that we figured it out completely, we haven't. Right, this is still a big dream, and I have big partners, and I don't think anybody's getting rich off this yet. I do know that I'm supporting a bunch of farmers that are doing it the right way, and people are starting to talk about it. Chefs are happy. My product's never been better. That's the first big win. The next big win is that we make it sustainable and people believe in it. And then the third big win is then America kind of looks at it and be like, holy crap, this is how pork was supposed to be raised, and charcuterie companies are supposed to utilize it. You're supposed to have positive impact. And then I retire and I fart through silk, Jack.
I wonder how many vegans like my wife stopped eating meat because of how it's raised.
Yeah, and they're right. Vegans are 100% right. If it doesn't take much to walk into one confinement pig farm and see the land, see the place that the people are, to see these tortured animals, to be like, yeah, this ain't right. This isn't it. And they're 100% right. I can't eat that stuff. That's not the way it's supposed to be. I mean, having a harmful impact on the environment just because it tastes good is fucking crazy. And they're absolutely right. And torturing animals is 100% wrong. Is there a happy medium there? 100%. Is it going to cost more and you have to have a change in mentality for it? Then yes. But you know, it is amazing when you do see people that are on the fence with it go to one of these farms and see the impact of the environment and see the quail flying and the birds and how green the grass is and how happy the employees are and the pigs and what the farmer is. And then it's a different conversation. Yeah, it's still very sad. You know, harming an animal is horrible, but if we're going to eat protein, there's horrible and then there's absolutely atrocious. And that's where the industry is right now.
Other parts of the country, how could they find someone like you locally? What are some of the things that they need to ask?
Yeah, first and foremost, going to a farmer's market. I know that's kind of dreamy and idealistic, and a lot of places don't have that. But if you are fortunate enough to go to a farmer's market and meet farmers that are actually raising protein, that's the best place to start. Obviously, they make the most money going directly. Then the second one is just demanding it at all the higher end grocers, co-ops, specialty stores, from the value-added products on, ask them what are their sourcing standards. And if they say the catchphrases like heritage breeds or antibiotic free, be like, I'm asking about what the sourcing standard is and who is the auditing body behind that. And if they don't have a clear answer to you, they're lying to you, and that's the fact. I'm a true believer in GAP certification, Global Animal Partnership. It was founded by the wonderful people originally at Whole Foods, and it's a tiered structure that allow farmers to get better at farming. Like the first one is don't harm your animals, give them enough space, don't clip ears, don't ever give antibiotics. The second one is outdoor access. Third is 2/3 of their life on outdoor access, and GAP 4, the ones that our farmers are, is continual life on pasture. I think GAP certification is the greatest because also their auditing body is honest. They do audits every year. They make sure every farm is audited, and that is a unicorn in the meat industry. What is normal is you'll get bodies like Certified Humane, where they may have one farm that is certified humane and is audited every 2 years, while they have 90 farms that is part of the conglomerate that are completely confinement operations, but they never get audited. You're allowed to select one of X farms every 2 years to do it, certified humane on your label, and off to the races. It's disgusting. And we all should be pissed. Everybody hates getting lied to, and like we're just blatantly doing it in the pork industry. Maybe can I hit on co-packing? And so, do you guys understand? Yeah, co-packing in the meat industry, especially in the value-added world, is something very interesting. Probably 98 to 99% of all value-added meat products out there, that's like the cured stuff that's out there, is produced by 3 names. Like 3 big brands, same as actually the fresh meat where most of it gets killed, and they all just come out with different labels on it. And like what's so bad about that is that if you don't, like I hope when you buy my product, you believe in my views, you know I actually make this. I'm trying to give nuance to this product and define things. If you only have 3 big houses, they're gonna control the narrative across America. You're never gonna find nuance. You're never gonna have other voices across America being like, hey, we should try to support small factory farm because of the big houses.
Who are they?
Tyson's a huge one. There's a lot of small, in the salami value added product is, there's a bunch of houses. I don't want to get too much in trouble. I still do see these people, but like you'll go to a Whole Foods or you'll go to a New Seasons, you'll see an entire line of fresh sausages up there, and 2 houses made that across America with different labels across all of it. So it's really important to have that conversation. Hey, are you producing this product? Is this a small producer that's adding it to it? Not only is it the voices, but like I'm a true believer in interesting products and terroir and having cool things. And if we only have 2 houses making it, we'll never get to the point where wine or beer or cheese is in the world, where it's going to have one kind of bland tasting charcuterie across America, as opposed to having what is some guy doing in Louisiana that's making epic stuff out of their pigs and so on, and then have much more, I think, an in-depth product. Yeah, and then the value added, the salami and fresh sausage, the only tag we have is the USDA label. If you look at the number that's actually on there, there's a director that'll show you where it's actually produced. So if you do look at a USDA plant number on it, on a stick of salami or a fresh sausage, it'll show you at what plant it's made, and you'll be baffled that that beautiful small artisan meat company in Brooklyn is actually making their product in Iowa.
Right. You probably start to learn the numbers after a while.
Oh yeah, there's
But
4 of them.
The wine industry, there's like a champagne kind of labeling.
Correct.
It's very, very tiny.
Correct.
And on that label, you can actually see if it's made like in the house that claimed it, or if it's part of a negociation, or if it's part of a métiage.
Yeah.
And like it's all labeled, but it's not part of the label. So you have to learn to identify.
Yeah, and it is, I think the amazing people in the cheese world have done a lot for that. Like the ACS, American Cheese Society, you're seeing the artisan cheese movement be amazing. Like you can go into Kroger right now and get Harbison cheese and all these small producers that are doing it right. It just needs to happen in the meat industry. They need to start asking more questions like this and having, I don't think there'll ever be meat somms in America, but other countries have them. So
maybe you could start the program.
I should in my spare time. Yeah.
Are you looking for more farmers to work with?
Yeah,
Who should reach out to?
we always are looking for more farmers, but currently we have to increase our pet treat sales to like bring on more. The biggest fear in our entire company is to get over our heads and overpromise to anybody, because again, I've had 13 failures at this, maybe even more, as I've built through this, and so I'm trying to build it really robust and have really honest conversations of what it would take. We have 4 farmers that are waiting in the wing right now that are raising it and doing the direct, that are going direct, and I just really need a few key partners to help it grow. And right now, the pace that it's growing, I love that I'm older and been making products and company. It's healthy. Like I'm have enough capacity in my brain to handle it. There's enough in my team to be like, we can do this and keep growing. So I like the growth rate that we're at right now. But as soon as I get a few more pet treat companies, so on and so forth, it'll move on. But yeah.
Pet treats available so we can help with that.
Mud Bays, it was a partner. New Seasons, Whole Foods, Olympia Provisions, Mallory. It's kind of your world.
You just named them all.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Most independent retailers.
Yeah, most independent retailers, exactly. Hotels are starting to pick them up, and it's pretty great. It's one of the private I am going to private label too, so I'm looking to work with partners like Patagonia, so on and so forth, that'll be taking it, which will be cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, do you guys want some pastries or anything? We got a lot up there.